Hi, this is Ryan Hoff with your 2024 AIC Legislative Preview brought to you by Charter Communications. Well, here we are on the verge of the 2024 legislative session of the Indiana General Assembly, and I wanted to give you some insight into what we expect when session starts next Monday, January 8th. First, this is the short legislative session, which has to be completed by midnight on March 14th. However, legislative leadership has already signaled that this session will target finishing sooner than that. With a gubernatorial election and 125 seats in the Indiana General Assembly up for election this year, they aren't likely to take on many controversial issues that could upend those elections. So, when there isn't a state budget to write and limited controversial issues to consider, what will they be handling? The short answer is plenty. Even this year, there will be hundreds of bills filed, and typically nearly 40% of those will have some impact on county government. From handling the nuts and bolts of local processes to setting the stage for bigger policy decisions next year, there will be loads for your AIC legislative staff to work on with you. First, expect reform to be offered for the county contracting issue that we spoke about at length over the past year. While the court decision that changed contracting rights is now over a year old, it has created a lot of confusion about what the standard is for county officials and contracts. Since last session, we've been talking with the leadership of AIC and our affiliates alike about how to thread the needle on legislation to clarify contracting authority that meets the needs of all the various county offices. Second, expect a lot of discussion about tax reform that wouldn't likely happen until the 2025 legislative session. The much discussed State and Local Tax Review Commission will continue to meet during session, with their next meeting scheduled for January 10th. The recent news out of the State Budget Committee that Medicaid is underfunded and state revenues have slowed may have taken some of the steam out of the discussion in the short term, but I expect this commission to continue to pursue big ideas about tax policy, potentially now dealing with local taxation rather than state. Watch for the potential of continued announcements of retirements and decisions to not run for re-election. There have already been half a dozen of such announcements, with more expected. Anytime there's a large turnover in the legislature, that means education on county issues and outreach from county officials becomes even more important. As we head full steam into the legislative session, keep an eye on our webpage and social media for status updates on bills of interest to county government. I will, of course, continue to provide you the weekly legislative updates on the top matters, and if you have any questions about any bills that you have thoughts or concerns over, please let your AIC legislative team know. And speaking of the AIC team, certainly want to welcome Camden Morrell, who has joined us from the Indiana Senate staff. Camden will be filling out our staff after the departure of Dustin Renner, who has gone on to be Indiana Elections Director for the Secretary of State's office. Contact information for all your AIC staff is available on our website, indianacounties.org. Buckle up, it's going to be a jam-packed short session, but with your help, we will see it through. This has been the AIC Legislative Preview brought to you by Charter Communications.